All right. Hey. How's everybody doing? Dr. King, thank you for having me on, man. I'm so excited about today's show. So I'm just going to sit back, man, and be a good student and listen. And I will come in and ask my questions when need be. But, man, I'm excited about, what you're doing, what you've always done for the community. And I just thank you, man, for having me on here today.
Well, man, it is my honor to have you. I'm excited about today, too, because I want to share something with you. And I want to recommend it to a lot of people.
Okay.
The name of the book is called The Burden of Freedom by Dr. Miles Monroe. And the reason that I love this book and that I'm reading, it deals with our mind. And many of us, we are free physically, but we're not free mentally. We still have a slave mentality. We still have a poverty mentality. We still have a victim mentality. In our mind, we still oppress when we're not oppressed. And so the people in the political arena love us in that condition because they can say anything to us and we just go along with it because we have went along with it for so long that that when somebody come and tell you the truth, you know what I mean? It's like it's hard for you to grasp the truth because in your mind you're still not free. And so when this is one of the reasons why I love this program tonight is because if we don't change leadership, then our city won't change. If we don't get new leadership in, then there's no way our city is going to change. And we have people who believe that if we keep voting in the same people, that something is going to change, but nothing changes. And so, as we look in our city, right, we look at it and says, okay, how is anything going to change when oppression is where it's at right now. In the education system, our children being oppressed, they're being lied to, they're not getting the proper education. Um, they're not being able telling that you can be the best whatever it is that you want to be. We look at the crime in our city, and our mindset, because we've been conditioned, our mindset is saying this is how it's always going to be. You know what I mean? And so um as we begin to show, and Einstein said it this way: if a person that's insane, or the definition of insanity is when you keep doing the same thing expecting the different results. It's like when you started, right? You started off as a barber. You started off, you know, with your store. Can you imagine? I just want to walk you down memory lane. Can you imagine if you would have had the same mindset that the white man is holding you down, that you can never have nothing? Can you imagine where you would be right now?
Oh no, that's a great question, man. I thank God for giving me vision. First off, and that's interesting, man. That burden and freedom. It made me go right into thinking about, as a consultant now, or financial strategist. A lot of times when individuals call me that's in business, or trying to strive and get to the next level, and I ask them, I always ask this question. How much capital do you need to kickstart this idea, or how much do you need to carry this business on? And you'll be surprised that a lot of people, their vision is low. They don't
Mm,
think they can get more, right? They say, well, I just need $10,000, and that'll help me. And me and you know that $10,000 not gonna help us thrive in business, or a new business, right, Dr. King? And then
yep.
I say, well, don't you think, do you think 50,000 or 100 or 200,000? And they always go to saying that they didn't even think that that could exist for them. That's
Mm,
that's that's not even in their mind, Dr. King. And
yes.
so, uh, also when you spoke, I thought about, when I was in school versus the youth today. And if we're trying to elevate, I think when I was in school, in my opinion, we were doing better. We had, I think that we're going on a decline more so than we are moving up as a community and as a people, Dr. King. That's my 2 cents right there.
Well, I love that, because you use a word that is so powerful, and I think people don't understand it. And there's two type of people uh, in the world today. And the Bible said it this way: God made rich man and God made poor man, but they have one thing in common, right? And that one thing in common is sight, what they see, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have those that have sight, and then you have those that have vision, right?
Right.
Okay, and I use myself for an example. The mayor we have now has sight, but the mayor to be, which is myself, has vision. What do that mean? That means the mayor we have now only see what's right now. With me, I can see what it can be. You see what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
anytime you got a vision, you're not looking at what it is now. You're looking at what it can be. And your vision is what strive you to move forward, where sight will hinder you, because you'll say, well, right now crime is high. I don't think we're going to be able to do nothing, so we might as well just accept the crime the way it is. uh, Education is terrible right now. It ain't going to get better, so I don't think. When vision comes in, vision says, okay, education is down, reading levels scores is down, so what can we do as a community outside of the school system so those young people can learn how to read? What can we do outside of the school system, or what can we do to help them get their math skills up? Because if they're going to own their own business, they got to know math. If they're going to own their own business, they got to be able to read a contract. If they're
Right.
going to, so what can we do? Because sometimes it's not the money,
Right.
sometimes it's the mind, it's the mindset. And so with that mindset, we have to look at it and says, okay, where's the issue? Because speaking of schooling, MPS just asked for another $252 million. Now, why would they want $252 million? Because if you go onto the National Assessment of Education Progress, fourth graders in the MPS, only 14% of fourth graders can read at their grade level, and only 12% can do math. If you go to eighth graders, only 11% of eighth graders can read and only 7% can do math. Now, I'm not going to blame the teachers because you got a lot of teachers that want to teach the kids, but their hands are tied.
Mm-hmm.
They're too busy babysitting. They got more than what they need in a classroom. They got 27 kids in one classroom. That's about $405,000, and the teacher still got to go on her purse to get materials for her class. That should never have to happen. And so we don't need more money. What we need to do is come up with solutions on how do we get those test scores up? How do we get these kids prepared for the world? How do we get these kids to feel good about themselves and want to compete against any other kid in the world?
That's right.
And so, so when we look at it, a person with vision sees the solution. We can see a better Milwaukee. We can see a great city on the Great Lakes. We can see communities prospering. We can see families being stronger. We can see drug addicts getting off drugs, homeless people getting empowered and getting off the streets, mental illness really being dealt with. So the thing about it is, where's the vision for that? Do people have a vision to make the city change? Now, those that are already in office, they're going off of sight. They have no vision because they've been in office long enough to exercise or to execute their vision, which they haven't. You know what I mean?
Dr. King, I have a question for you on vision. So, what would be, what is your vision for the city, right? And then in that, my question would be, because I know it's a lot of things that in this position that you would be responsible for. But next would be, what would be the top priorities in that? What's the vision and the top priorities, within that vision?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't know you was gonna come this tough, but that's a good question. I want you to picture an emergency room, okay? You got 10 people in the emergency room. Let's go with 5. You got 5 people in the emergency room, right? One got a cut on their hand, right? One got a rash and something just, they don't know what it is. One is having a heart attack. One got shot, okay? And the other one don't know what's wrong with them. Which one do you take first? You take the one with the shot and the one that's having a heart attack, right?
Right.
Because those two things are the most critical at that time, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
So in the city, we got to look at what's most critical. The social issues of the city is critical, right? You got mental illness, you got drug overdose, you got homelessness, you got domestic violence, and you got children that are going astray. So if we start to address the social issue, guess what happens? It reduces crime, right? Mm-hmm. It starts to deal with, and I can't do it alone. So my goal is to bring social service back into the church. Who know better to build stronger families than the church? Who know how to deal with drugs? Most of the people in church now got delivered from drugs. So who know better to deal with drugs better than the church itself? Who know better than to help single moms with childcare if the church doesn't open up their youth ministries so those mothers can go to work, right? And then now you also have education component. There's a lot of kids doesn't have a lot of hot meals. So guess what? Bring them to the church, feed them a hot meal, go over their homework, make sure they can read, make sure they write. Because why? It takes a village to raise a child. And the church used to be the pillar of the community. So we moved the line, separation from church and state, bring in partnership that will help with the social issues. While that being dealt with, now I can go in and deal with the infrastructure and the services that the city is supposed to provide the people of the city.
Oh, that's a great man. That's a great answer, man. Yeah, I do agree that I think that's a great idea, bringing that family unit into the equation. Yeah, great answer there, Dr. King. Great answer, man. And so, I also think, with these kids, they do need more social, to be in a more social environment. I also, I had this quote that, applied knowledge kisses the mind, right? And then it says
Mm,
the mind needs love too. And so a
yes,
lot of times, we need to create more activities that they'll be doing in the real world, right?
yes.
Associate a lot of the things that they're doing in the school, in the class, with some actual things that's going on in the real world. Because what I know it is, even with looking at some of my, I have younger children as well. A lot of the things that they're learning is not really things that they're seeing in the day to day world. So
Mm,
it's like you're in this imaginary world, and then you have to come to the real world, and you really don't understand all the functionality. You know,
right. And when I get them from school and I get them and have to get them a job and they sit there and they don't know what DOB stands for or SSN stands for, that's a lot right there where you're looking at them and saying, you mean to tell me you don't know what date of birth means and you don't know that means your social security number? It's because we're not preparing them for success. I did a quote and I posted on my Facebook page. Listen to what it says. Without mental transformation, the actions we take to change may only produce a new place where we continue to do old things.
right?
And so, you know how they did? They took the people out of the uh, First and Brown, Palmer and Brown, Palmer and Garfield, and they put them out by uh, Northridge Lake, right? They put them in a new place, but they didn't change their mindset. So guess what? Now Northridge Lake is now looking like First and Brown used to look, Palmer and Garfield used to look, and now Garfield looking like what Northridge used to look like, right?
Right.
Because you gave new places, you just didn't change the mindset. And so when we go and unlock, can you imagine? And I watch you with your daughter, and I do it with my daughter and my son, but can you imagine unlocking those young people minds and showing them that you've been lied to, but you can have this? Is you're not being stopped because of the color of your skin. You're not being stopped because you 5'6" or you 6'4". No, you're being stopped because what's upstairs, what's in your mind, the mindset is what's
Yeah.
hindering you from becoming anything. And so, and when you start to unlock their mind and telling them you can be whatever you want, you
Right.
know, nobody can stop you from your destiny but you. You're the only
That's all
one
they
here.
need. That's all
Right.
they need, Dr. King, is that love and that special attention that you talked about. I think I may have talked about this before on one of your shows. My mother always said she called me a genius, right? All the time. And I was messing up every day, Dr. King, but she called me a genius, man, because guess what she did? She overlooked my flaws. And I really believe to this day, that because of that, it helped me through. It gave me that push. It gave me that you can do it. It gave me that, hey man, you got this. And it's just those little things. I think, it's a lot of mental abuse that
Yes.
goes on in our communities. We have been, it's a lot of mental health issues, and you don't know what those kids been going through before they even get to that school. You
Right.
know what their parents been going through, right? And so it's so many different levels to what we need to accomplish. and we got so many things against us. We got this social media, right?
Yes.
And we have, they on there for hours a day. Dr. King, we didn't have that coming up. We didn't have no cell phones like that, and I know we had them beepers as we was getting older, but child, man, we didn't have any of that. We had to create and imaginate. We had to use our imagination more. Now
Yes.
these things are being pushed on them. Yeah,
I when you said that, it took me back. I remember my mom. My mom used to tell us, nobody is better than you, and you ain't better than nobody.
that's it.
And that stuck with me. And then my mom raised 7 by herself, 6 boys, 1 girl. And anybody that needed help, she would help. She would take in, she would feed. And I'm sitting there like, I couldn't understand it. Why are you doing this? And you trying to raise all by yourself. But
Right.
then I see now what she did was my blueprint on what I'm doing today and how I operate today. And so what we do is a blueprint to our children. So when we take that into the community and we invest into the young people in the community, right? That's their blueprint on how to be successful, but also how to help someone else.
Man, I
And
love that, man. Ain't nobody better than you,
ain't
and
nobody
you
better than
ain't
you.
better than nobody. Man,
That's it.
imagine where that puts you at, and that's interesting because I'm just looking at people going through stages in life and how sometimes we look at celebrities, or how sometimes we look at bosses, or sometimes we look at these people in these certain suits, and to have that ideology or that blueprint to say ain't nobody better than you,
Right.
but also you ain't better than nobody else. Man, come
Right.
on. That's a message, man. We could close the show right now, Dr. King. That's it right there, man. That's it
And
right there. A
yeah.
lot of our youth and our children, they think that other people are better than them. Dr. King, they
Yes.
think that people are better than them. Hey man, I'm gonna use that, sir. You gave me something today. I appreciate that because
Hey,
that's what
that's fine.
that they need that.
Yes.
Thank you,
And
Mama. Mama did that for us.
yeah, my mama did that.
Hey, Mama did that.
Yep. She looking down at heaven and say, "Oh, he did remember what I said."
That's
You
right.
know.
Yeah,
But it took me and put me in a playing field where I'm not intimidated by anybody
that's right.
because we even.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and I
right.
tell people this: I ain't better than you, but I might be better off because I got Jesus. But I'm not
Mhm.
better than you,
Right.
And so when that put me in a level of you can't intimidate me because I know who I am, And
Hmm.
so no matter who's in the room, you can't intimidate me because of I know who I am. And
That's right.
so if we can empower our young people and say, listen, ain't nobody better than you, and you ain't no better than nobody else. The only reason one is outshining you or getting what they want because they working harder than you.
Hmm.
They want it more than you want it.
That's right.
That's it. And so
That's
when
all.
we go forward and tell people, listen, whatever you want in life is not going to be handed to you. You have to go get it. And so the question is, how hungry are you for what you claim you want?
Hmm.
I want to see a better Milwaukee. How hungry am I? That's why I'm in the race. I want to see communities healed. Why? That's why I'm in the race. I'm not in the race for me. I'm in the race for the people of the city because our community has been on the menu forever. We've never been at the table. No matter how many black faces we got, we never been at the table. We only been on the menu.
Mm. That's
And
it.
so And so by us being on the menu, we're not receiving what needs to be said. Hey man, we got another guest. I guess the Packer game over with. Now he's coming. He's coming on, and so we're gonna bring him in while we keep talking.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. He's a candidate for the 6th District, Automatic District, Brother Brandon.
How's it going?
Hey, brother Brandon, how you doing today?
Pretty good.
All right, all right.
Good to see you, sir. You. I know you was in
Likewise.
that. I know you was in that game, but we forgive you. We forgive you.
Actually, I fell asleep on it.
It was that boring. The Packers was winning that bad, huh? Yeah. So let's go back. Would you finna say something, Brandon?
I was going to ask, where were we?
Okay. So let's go back. So we're talking about a phrase that my mom gave that we're operating on right now, and that phrase is, "You are not better. Nobody is better than you, and you are not better than anybody else." So, can you imagine that if we give that to the kids? Because, like I was telling Coach Darvin, Coach Moore, is that the black community, and I don't like to use the word black and brown community because we all Americans. We was born here. We all Americans. So don't let them divide us by color, because if that's the case, then your mindset going to keep you locked down color wise instead of looking at yourself as an American and you have a right to do everything that anybody else does in this country. But the black community as a whole has always been on the menu, but never at the table. To the fact, y'all correct me, any one of y'all if I'm wrong. To the fact that if you put the black community at the table and say, "What do you want?" would that be like speaking in a different language?
I'd agree.
Yeah, that'd be a foreign language. That would be a foreign language right there, Dr. King. I think the things that we want, honestly, is something that we have to go and get. Right? Anything that we want, we have the mindset to go and get it. Like you said, what your mom said, you ain't better than nobody. Right?
Right.
Nobody better than you. And so, with that being said, the things that you want to accomplish in life and the things that you want, you have to use your mind to go and take care of that, and not, looking for handouts from nobody. That's how I feel about that.
Okay, brother Brandon.
Right now, and you're right. But right now, we in a state where, and pardon me, moving around a lot. But right now, we're in a state where everybody feels entitled, and with that, if you ask a person what they want, they are going to feel like what they want is unreachable until they understand that we had a power to go and get what we want, and we're not just entitled to
it. I look at it this way. As I look at each one of us, and then those that's supposed to join us too, I look at us. I look where we come from. I look where the hurdles we had to jump, right? The trials that we had to go through, the times we tried and we failed. I remember I had a business, and when I started the business, I didn't hire people for what I needed. I hired them because they needed a job. So that one went underwater, right? Real fast. Because I hired people that couldn't do what I needed them to do to keep the business afloat. I hired them because they needed a job. So I learned from that mistake and says, okay, no longer hiring them from my heart, hiring them from my mind, hiring them to see if they qualify to get the job done that I need done. And so when we look at certain things, is we got to make decisions for people based on our experience and understanding. Like I was talking earlier, Coach Moore, if he would have never thought about owning his own, he would still be sitting there cutting hair, talking politics and sports in a place where his potential never wanted him to stay. And now that he decided that I'm better than where I'm at, is nothing, how should I say that? Nothing wrong with where we start. It's just long as we don't stay where you started. You can't win a race if if they say go and you still right there and you don't move. You know, and that's a mindset. And Coach Moore, you know as much as I know, dealing with people in businesses, a lot of times they doesn't see the opportunities that's before them. Like you say, they'll tell you 5,000, 10,000 when you're looking at them and say, no, I'm trying to get you 100,000. I'm trying to get you 200,000. They can't see it, right? It's just like if you go to somebody and say, you're going to be a millionaire. And they're going to say, yeah, unless I win the lottery. Why? Because they don't realize that they have millionaire potential on the inside of them. We got another one that's coming on with us. And gentlemen, Coach Moore is going to be free tonight, and he's going to be the coach, and he's going to hit questions, and we're going to answer them. But before then, let me bring on our next guest. He is running for the 5th District, and it is Brother Stacy.
Evening, gentlemen. Evening, gentlemen. How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Good evening, Brother Stacy.
Good evening, Brother Stacy.
Nice to meet everyone. Dr. King, salute as usual, as always. I was watching the Packer game.
We know it.
So don't mind my tardiness. I'm a diehard Packer fan. Everybody that knows me know I love my Packers.
We're not holding that against you, especially, we're not holding that,
Oh my God.
I just got to do that for you, still a nation, we just got to, let you know, still a nation in the house. So, but it's
about that. Y'all not ready for that one again. I'm sorry. Y'all not ready for it again.
Yeah, we ready, but we there. And Pastor Luis is supposed to join us as well, and I'm just waiting on him to join as well, gentlemen. So one of the things that we really want to talk about is the leadership, and Coach Moore, Pastor Moore, boy, I tell you, Bishop in a minute. I want you to share the part of vision again, because I love when you use the word vision, and so that we can all tap in and to share. Matter of fact, why don't you hit them with the question you hit me? Do you remember the first question you hit me with?
Yeah. So the question was, if you guys get into the place that you want to be here with the city, the question is, what's your vision for the city, and then also for the people? And then, I know that there's many responsibilities, but of course, a lot of times is, things are in order. So what's the top priority would be the question, right? So what's your top priority for the people, for the community?
And we'll start with District 5.
All right. Go ahead, let Brandon go. I need to grab my computer charger. My laptop is about to die, so give me one second.
Okay. Go ahead, Brother Brandon.
I'm trying to get myself on a different computer myself, but my first priority is to address safety concerns in my district, and I have a 5-tier solution for that, which involves faith-based organizations, the Alderman's office, police, community organizations, and finally the people that we call the constituents. Bring everyone to the table to get on one accord with to bring a whole to my district has been on national news for how horrible it's been. So, like I said, I would start with safety first and go from there. I kind of kind of off guard because I'm trying to switch over to this other computer here.
And Brandon, you say you District 5,
I'm 6.
6. Now, what can you give me the demographics of District 6? Where's District 6?
District 6 starts downtown at Juno. And from Juno, it goes west, straddles along 7th Street over to Locust, Locust down to 20th, 20th over to Hopkins, Hopkins down to 26, 26 over to Capitol, Capitol down to Fradney, Fradney back downtown.
Got you. Thank you.
So with them those demographics, you got 53206
Mm-hmm.
in the middle being the largest part of the district, which
Right.
that's where I come from when I say my district has made national news for the
Yeah.
problems that's inside of it.
That's right. so
And
that's
all the
why
other
safety-
zip codes around
that's
it,
why
I call
safety
those.
is the top
Yeah.
priority. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Uh-huh. I got you.
And I'm switching over to another computer now, so I'm going to be getting off of this one.
Okay, go ahead and get off, and then I'll bring you back.
All right.
So Stacy, you on? Did you get that question, Stacy?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm good. My apologies once again. So, Coach Moore, can you repeat that question one more time so that way I can get that?
So the question was, if you get into this position that you're seeking, what's your vision, right? What's the vision for the city or the community? And then, in that, I know there's a lot of things that, responsibilities that you have. What would be the top priority?
Okay, I understand. Perfect. First and foremost, my name is Stacy Smiter. I always tell everyone when you're pronouncing that last name, think of the word to smite and then put ter on the end. So it's a smiter. So the reason and my most important issue that I would like to address that I have been saying for quite a while now is us better understanding and balancing out our budget for the city of Milwaukee. For the last decade or more, our budget has not been balanced until what they call this year, where we have a surplus budget. But if you really look at the actual numbers and the data, because of for the fact that yes, we have a surplus, but yet 21 million of that surplus automatically goes back to the pension plan, and come 2026, Milwaukee County itself will be 13 million back in the hole. So it's not really that we have a surplus. You're just putting band-aid solutions in place to address long-term issues. And of course, the way that I see it, the 2% that they put in place, it did not really do anything but allow for the state to come in and govern us even more. Because Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee was the only city that got stipulations put in place when they gave us that increase. And they also got it around to where the aldermen immediately can vote on it, because they knew if they would have brought it back to us, the constituents, we would have said no, because all of the red tape and the stipulations in place. So the first thing that I would definitely like to address, because of the fact that I come from the manufacturing industry, but also I am a licensed real estate broker. So I'm in the business world. I have my degree in business with emphasis in finance and economics. So I like to look at everything from a macro level. So the way that and the trajectory they turn in our city, it's not getting us anywhere, because once again, we're going to be right back into this same hole. So the first thing that I'm going to definitely address is looking at what we can do to generate revenue. Because of state law, we are limited to what we can do as generating income. And that's one of the issues that I find that's crazy to me. We generate the most revenue, but we have the state telling us how we can make our funds and make our money. And from a business perspective, anytime you're being limited to how you can allocate your resources and also where you can bring in additional revenue, of course, you're going to run into times where you having budget shortfalls. But the problem that I'm currently having with leadership is that the fact that they've been making these same decisions over and over and over. And then also the fact that they choose the first thing to do with a with the budget, and they can say all they want that it's been in the planning and in the making, and so has this budget increase as well. This 2% sales tax has been in the makings. It wasn't just something that spurred on them. So that is one of the first things that I'm going to address is the budget, looking at ways that we can increase it, but also too my short-term solutions. I'm a strong believer in having a plan. Without a plan in place, you can get absolutely nowhere. So the reason why I'm running is I want to bring back that what I call the servitude aspect of being an alderman or alderwoman or a mayor or any of those positions, whether you are a controller who controls and handles the money, all the way down to the county executive as well, where you're managing and running the actual county itself. So you have your two bodies working together when they're not actually thinking for the residents anymore. It's time to change the narrative. So that's another thing that I want to bring back. I want to change the narrative. There's nothing wrong with passing the torch. It's not saying that, hey, you're doing an effing bad job. You're doing a bad job. It's not none of those things. It's just that, hey, the accountability is now being called now. And the accountability is it's time for us to change who we have in those positions because of the fact that it's no longer about the people, but more so about who can offer me the biggest plot for my district. And it's no longer how I view things. And I'm not paying figure point or saying anyone is doing anything. I'm just basing it off of the actions.
Well, let's just call it for what it really is. Their grade is 3 Ps. They got a piss poor performance when it comes to taking care of the people of the city of Milwaukee.
Absolutely.
And so, one of the things that we have to understand and realize is that we put you there to represent us. And the way you're representing us is totally out of whack. It's not something that we really want from you. That ain't how we sent you to represent us. We didn't send you to represent us to make decisions against us, but make decisions that's going to help small business owners, help families, help our young people, help our community, making sure the service that we are getting are services that my lights are sensitive, or services that we're supposed to get that we're not getting. We need to feel safe. We need to make sure that whatever service they're giving on one side of town is the same quality service they're giving on the other side of town. Just because you call us the ghetto don't mean you got to treat us like that. We pay taxes just like everybody else. So I think that is really need to boil down to is the quality of service that the city are giving to the citizens of Milwaukee. I'm gonna throw this up there real quick. I don't know if you guys can read that. It is from a very beautiful young lady, very sweet. Coach Moore, can I say that like this? She's very sweet and sexy and lovable and adorable. Yeah, it's my wife.
Hey, I ain't mad at you, Dr. King. Yeah, so I would like to chime in on that. I'm a firm believer in return on investment. What in my world, and in those who's in the business, whether you're in big business, small business, whether you're in sales, your return on investment, ROI. And for the longest, we haven't not gotten that return on ROI because of the fact that there has not been a clear plan that has involved the community. And when I say the community, the actual residents that lives day to day, not just the organizations themselves, but the actual residents. We have never really got involved, meaning that they never really offer us a seat at the table other than formality's sakes. And to address that, you have to be able to know how each district is doing. You have to be in the trenches, is what I call it. In the manufacturing world, when I was a quality manager, I spent all of my time on the floor, on the plant floor, in order to understand how to get to solve a problem, because that's what one of my roles was problem solving, figuring out what went wrong and how to prevent it from happening again. And it's the same thing as when you run in the city. You can't know what's going on and what your district or your city needs if you only spending your time downtown or spending your time in certain areas and certain districts and masquerading and covering it up as if that's, hey, we're building and regenerating this neighborhood. There's no reason that the downtown of Milwaukee should be worth $7.7 billion, while the rest of the city of Milwaukee itself isn't worth a third of that. But yet, when you look at the development, the economic growth and development is only taking places in the areas along the lakeshore and the lake lines and bits of the south side. And now, when you look over here specifically in District 5, this used to be a thriving area. And based off of the data and the numbers, statistically, every resident over here is about 48% homeowners. The average income over here is about 68,000. So it's a very mixed class, diverse. And what brought us and get us to those realms is not just because of the fact that they have jobs. We don't have too many walkable areas like we used to back in the day. We don't have enough businesses coming in. And as the district alderman, that is one of your jobs as that alderman, is making sure that that district is thriving both from the resource standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. In order to do that, you have to be in the district. You have to know what's going on in that district. You have to have a plan that explains, that reaches out to all wards. It's 25 wards in this district. So you have to have a plan for each one of them, because each one of those play a part in creating the income. Your job as alderman is to bring income into the district and also bring revenue out. And that's what's not happening down there. It's more politicking. And when I say politicking, it's about who's writing the biggest check, who can help them get into another election. To me, this is not an election. This is me giving myself to God and explaining to him, because my journey to get here wasn't as nowhere easy compared to most people that's running. And even my colleague, I mean, not my colleague, but my two opponents themselves. I'm not faulting anyone for decisions that I made, but I worked hard to get here to show that, hey, I am determined based off of my actions that I want to see Milwaukee thrive. I have lived every life you could think of, so I know what the people want because I'm coming from them. I'm still living it day to day. I work a regular job just like everyone. I run a real estate brokerage. I work, you see me sometime. I even DoorDash from time to time just because I am one of the people. So we have to understand, as aldermen, you have to know how to allocate those resources, how to bring revenue. And to do that, you have to understand business and understand that your district is business.
And I got you, Stacey. I got a couple more questions that I would like,
yes,
to get answered. Like, because the community is important. I think that all of these roles is in these roles, we should still be connecting with the people.
yes.
And for what I've seen in the past, I haven't seen a lot of connection. I'm talking worldwide, right? With individuals, elected officials, really engaging with the community. And so my question is, what strategies and what are some of the things that you and Brandon and even Dr. King, what strategies are we going to use to engage with that community and start helping them to this next level?
Well, the first
Okay, hold on. Let's do it this way. Let's everybody take, because he got a couple of more questions. So, gentlemen, we got 2 minutes to answer the questions, so we can get all his questions answered tonight. So go ahead, Brother Stacy.
All right. To me, the first and foremost, the first thing you have to do is start with conversation. You actually have to have a plan put together about the conversation that you're going to have. You got to see what that conversation is going to be about. So in order to do that, you have to go and see what the need of the community is. And I'm a firm believer in community is number one. And in order to be in the community, you have to be a part of the community. I'm a strong believer that we have to start re-engaging our churches back into the community and taking on some of those roles and responsibilities that they used to take on, but bringing it in from an innovative idea. So to me, the first and foremost thing is starting with the strategic plan of how you're going to have those conversations. And it has to be real conversations that engage both teens, adults, young, old, because now it's involving everyone. So to me, it's starting with those two things, a strategic plan and that conversation.
Brother Brandon?
So ask the question again.
So the question is, engaging with the community? What are the strategies, Brandon, that you have in mind? Because it's very important that that the community or the people know you and respect you, and that way you guys can build a bond and start really moving forward. So, what are some of your plans to engage with our community?
It's get out the office. Get out the
Mhm.
office and walk around my neighborhood. Something I do anyway. I go to the corner stores in my neighborhood. I go to the bars and shoot darts, play pool, do karaoke. I'm engaging with people every day, and my plan is to continue doing that once I'm in office. Um, Although I do live in my district, my district is huge. I live on 19th and Locust, but I don't know what's going on Buffum, Richards, and Center, right now because I'm sitting here in my kitchen. But that's where what they called block captains. That's where I would engage with them once a week in different areas. Block captains from every area, have a conversation with them at least once a week. If something's going on that's dire, um, I would encourage them to call me daily. And it's about being responsive, being accountable, and literally, instead of sitting in the office downtown, getting out and being engaged with the constituents, not only for me, not only the constituents that's south of North Avenue, I'm talking about north of North Avenue all the way to Capitol, which that's the part of my district right now that is failing. I say everything else around, all the other zip codes around that one zip code that I mentioned earlier, 53206, I call those pads. And why I'm calling them a pad, because they're striving, and they're I feeling like they were placed into my district in order to pad the numbers
Mhm.
so it don't look that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So um I said it to say I'm getting out of downtown. What they call the hood, you'll see me walking in the hood and actually talking to people. And even now as I campaign, I take notes. And the notes that I'm taking, those are things I'm where they might not been on my list, they're being put at the top of my list as a top priority. So
Gotcha.
that's why.
Okay. Well, for me, it's relationship building. In order to get anything done, there has to be uh, relationship building where the people can trust, and so the people has to be able to trust you, and so I'm involved in so many areas of the community when it comes to dealing with drugs, coming to dealing with homelessness, when it comes to dealing with getting jobs, when it's come to dealing with a funeral or a wedding. It all starts with relationship, because in the midst of relationship, it allows them to see your character. And when they can see your character, they know they can trust you. They know that you're not going to sell them out. And they know that you are somebody that they can work with, and that you're going to be real. And so for me, over 20 years, almost 30 years in the community, in the city, helping with drugs and jobs and crime and walking the streets at midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, helping people with different programs that I see that can benefit their lives, setting it up in my church. So it's all about relationship. And so when you start to build relationship, then you're going to be able to get some stuff done, because now they can trust you. Because you got to remember, all of us that's running for office right now, they're going to say to us, you only going to do what they already did. They said they was going to be for us, and we ain't see nothing. So you're saying the same thing. And I tell them, look at my resume, look at what I've done. So if you can look at what I've done, then you know I'm going in to be something different. And I know it's just like a woman, right? You get a woman that been hurt by a man, and another man come and he might have good intentions. And the first thing she's gonna say, "Oh, you just like every other man." Right? So we got to show them by building those relationships that we're different than everybody else.
I know, I like that. Yeah, great answers, guys. So the next one is about economic growth and job creation. What strategies, right, are we going to be putting in place to boost this economic growth and this job creation, guys?
Well, I'll start off with that one. First of all, the biggest thing that we have to understand and the biggest thing we have to remove out of the way as of tonight is this: government doesn't create jobs, businesses create jobs. So we got to move that lie out of the way. When they come to the community and say we're going to create jobs, you cannot create jobs. Government doesn't create jobs, businesses create jobs. My job is to be business minded, business friendly, and moving things out of the way so each individual business can grow so they can hire more people. And so what we need to do is make Milwaukee a business friendly city, because right now we're not business friendly. We just raised sales taxes up to 7.9. That's look like an attack on the businesses, because other people is going to go otherwhere to spend the money to save that 2.4% sales tax. So we got to figure out a way to make business more friendly for that want to come. In other words, as mayor, I would go to Fortune 500 companies and have a meeting, have lunch with them, and say, "Listen, I understand business, I understand P&Ls, I understand profit and loss. Let me show you the benefit of bringing your business to District 7 or District 5 or District 9 or District 15. Let me show you the benefit of that." So me being understanding business can go sit with Fortune 500 companies and say, "This is why you want to come to Milwaukee." And so when we bring them into Milwaukee, that opened up jobs. So like if I brought a business, let's say I brought a business into Stacy District, District 5. Well, no, let me take District 5 out the way and put District 6. So let's say I asked him to go and put a business on Keith Avenue and Booth, or Keith Avenue and Fratney, over there by those factories. My request to him was, I need you to hire at least 35% of the people out of that community. What happens? They can walk to work, right? It'll help reduce crime, right? And that business get automatically tax write-off. Why? Because those people he gonna hire, some is on food stamps. That's a write-off. Some of them is a felon. That's a write-off. Some of them get daycare. That's a write-off. And some of them, they're under the poverty level. All of those are write-offs. So they're automatically getting write-offs. They automatically is getting deductibles just by hiring 35% of those people in that community.
Oh no, great answer, Dr. King. Um, I'll let you guys answer, and I did want to chime in on that subject as well. But Stacy or Brandon can answer that. Economic growth, right, guys, and job creation. Uh,
I actually agree with Dr. King
Yes.
when it said we don't. I mean, we can't create the jobs. Um, we just have to make it attractive for a company to want to come to that district, and that comes with those conversations and meetings with companies. Um,
mhm.
and then once it's there, let constituents know that it's there for you. And that's been one of the biggest issues with downtown. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in, not everyone understand or knows where the resources come from. So in order for the district to be able to thrive, that's where the aldermen come in, or alderwoman is their role to bring that necessary resources that's needed. Be downtown when you're in that office advocating for the jobs, for growth, and for those business opportunities that come into the district, whether it be the small businesses, medium business, or even the corporate offices. If you look over the last decade, how many of the big companies have moved their corporation downtown? when at the same time it's a lot of more available resources. I mean, a lot of more available land up here that's capable of doing that same aspect and giving them the same, but it also creating jobs in the area. So I'm a firm believer in making sure that when you're downtown that you supporting the entrepreneurship of small businesses and not just only big businesses, but also advocating for investments into those districts. Don't just allow for the businesses to come into the district, but yet they're not giving back to the district. So we have to make sure that we looking at those key points to make sure that the business is coming in is also giving back to the community and that revenue is generating back to the city.
Yeah. All you guys, great points. You know, um, as a financial strategist and coach, I've had the opportunity to um, talk with hundreds of business owners in the city of Milwaukee. Not only talk to them, actually be part of their financials, understanding where they at. What I've learned is that uh, having most of them don't have the basics of financial literacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, what does that mean? A lot of them can hire more people, but they don't know how to. Their business can flourish more if they had the right resources or understood what does it take. How can I get this capital from these banks, right? A lot of business owners, guys, um, aren't as savvy as we think from the financial literacy standpoint. So,
Mhm.
what am I saying? When we look down the road in the future, right? Because we're not just talking about this year, next year, 3 years, 5 years. We're talking 10, 20, 30, 50 years. That's how the bigger minds work and operate. So I would love to see some initiatives towards building some stability on financial literacy and mental wellness classes and trainings for
Absolutely.
our people because we think we know. And as I'm talking to us on a daily basis, I'm realizing that we collectively are like babies in the world of how money works and moves.
Yes.
And so if we can get that, we don't need anybody else,
No, we don't.
right? Once we
Right.
understand how money works and money moves, I'll give you a quick example and I'll get off this because I'm very passionate about this. Is that I have people that say that they need an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month in their business so they can do this, this, and this. And a great handful of these people are giving away interest of two, three, four, $5,000 unnecessarily, meaning that they don't need to borrow any more money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All they need is to understand how to build the right relationship with the bank, how to adjust those interest rates. Okay, guys, so that they can have that extra money that they need in that business. So it's not an outside thing when it comes to that. A lot of it is internal
Mm-hmm.
because we don't understand how it works. And I just want to say that because, if you guys get into these places that you need to be in, the people will have a profound respect for you if you can educate their mind with real literacy and a mental health component or mental wealth component is going to be key too because how we feel about money is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of my things that I'm real passionate about. And I'm actually coach more once we offline. I want to talk more with you about it. But one of the biggest things that I am very passionate about is financial literacy and how important it is to understand it, that it doesn't just only inquire about what you hear and see on Facebook about, business credit and all those things, but actually understanding the whole concept of what financial literacy is. So one of the things that we offer in as National Association of Realtors, as part of those members, we're offering, and I've been reaching out to the high school principals over the last couple of weeks and about 2 months, about a month and a half now, we had started 11th grade financial literacy program where we as realtors come into the high schools and teach them about financial literacy. It's absolutely free to the school. We all went through the necessary training, and it's also accredited by a doctor that actually teaches education. So he's also part of our National Association of Realtors. So what I've been doing and going around offering is financial literacy. I am very big on that because we as a people understand about that, we will have a better control and grasp on our money. I want us to really understand that we are the powerfulest dollar in the world. We spend over $1 trillion as a people. So if we got a better understanding of what that financial literacy piece is, but be willing to teach it as leaders, we'll be able to prepare and set ourselves up for a long haul instead of this short term that we see all the time. And that's one of the issues that we're facing in our city is the fact that no one really understands what financial literacy is. It's they buy some books or pay for a class, and it doesn't really give them the concept of it because no one is showing them how to do it. They're just reading it to them.
That's right.
Well, I think a lot of things, that we have to look at and empower the people with the information, with the right information, with the right knowledge, because there's three things: there's wisdom, there's knowledge, and then there's understanding. Knowledge is information, so we can give information all day long. All right. Understanding is comprehending that information that we give them, and knowledge and wisdom is applying that information. So, we can give them the information, but if they never apply it, right, or if they don't really comprehend the information that we're giving them, so their mind can be free, especially the small business owners in the city of Milwaukee, that I deal with, Coach Moore, you deal with, and we know, when I give an example. I walked into one of my clients' business. This is how she became a client of mine. I walked in her business and I just watched her operate, and I said, "Wow, you losing so much money." And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I just began to point things out. She's like, "How do you know this?" I mean, it's my job. I supposed to know these things. I've been doing it for so long. And then I said, "Now, if you put this, and this in place, you'll stop losing a lot of money." And I showed her what to put in place. But, she had 3 other businesses besides that one. So can you imagine not understanding or not receiving the information she received and all the money she lost in all 3 businesses? Because Coach Moore, as they run their businesses, they running them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so without that without that information, without that knowledge, to empower them, the business owner, because here's the thing: this country is built on small businesses. It's not built on major corporations. It's built off of small business owners. This is how this country is built. This is how this country run and survive off of small business owners, not the big major corporations. So if we empower them to so they can thrive even more, that they can hire more people, I told one this particular thing the other day. They was telling me about their business and what they want to do with their business. I said, "That's great." And then they say, "But once I get it where I want it, I'm gonna sell it." I said, "Why sell it?" I said, "Why don't you franchise it?" They was like, "Franchise it?" I said, "Yeah, because you done branded it. You got a brand. People trust your brand, right? Just like McDonald's, they build it, they trust their brand, they franchise it. In franchising it, you have the power to take it back if they start messing up your name. And you can sit at home, you can go do whatever you want, and you got money coming in all the time." I said, so instead of building it and letting it go, why not franchise it, and then you ain't got to do anything?
Great point. Yeah, great point. I just know that a lot of times we look at things like financial literacy and that learning as something that we don't give it its real credit,
Right.
right? And it's just like doing business and not understanding numbers. I mean, not even knowing, 1 + 1 is 2, or a person not even knowing their numbers, right? If we really understand, the components of credit, for example, I was at a lecture I did a lecture in Las Vegas. I'm sorry, Los Angeles, and it was about 50 people in the crowd, well off folks. And I asked the question, by a raise of hands, because they asked me what was one of the most important things for um, up and coming entrepreneurs. And I went to the basics. I said, well, for a raise of hand, these people that's here, and these were business owners and well off people, how many of you know the 5 components of credit? And only one person raised their hand. Okay. We're talking the foundation of money and accessing it. And the person that raised their hand was the cameraman. Okay. Not even the individuals. And we had individuals that had, great companies. And maybe a lot of them got lucky, or they were able to get to this next level. But regardless of them, what about the people coming behind you, right? What about your family, right? The components of credit is a very important thing, because, for a lack of better words, you could manipulate your profile because you understand how it works. And so we have to get back to the basics, guys. Like, I like what you said, Dr. King. Relationships, relationships. People need to know you care. And
Yes.
so back to the basics is what it's all about, if you ask me.
And let me say this, because, gentlemen, we have an opportunity, and let me say the reason I'm saying we, because one part of my plan as mayor is to use Coach Moore as many times as I can, to use him to help us change the face in the areas of the city of Milwaukee, which he's already doing, is because one thing that I know is this: each one of us on this show tonight have already vested in Milwaukee. We already got invested. We're not doing it for a paycheck. We're not doing it for name recognition. We're not doing it just to sit in City Hall and say, well, I made it. No, we're doing it to make a difference. We're doing it to make a change. And so, for the people of the city of Milwaukee, we need them to understand that nothing will change until you change leadership. Because if you keep the same people there, you're getting the same thing. But if you remove some of the pieces and move some of the old stale stuff or the stale ideas, and put people in there that really have vision for the city, and really have a vision for the 5th district, really have a vision for the 6th district, really have a vision for the 7th district, the 1st district. I mean, if you have people that really have a vision. And see, here's the thing about it. I just met Brother Stacy. I just met Brother Brandon. And a piece of their vision is already lined up to my vision. And we never talked about vision. We never talked about which way we want to go, because we just met one another. But it's in alignment with where we want to take the city. So as mayor, I can work with Alderman Stacy in the 5th district. Why? Because his vision lines up with where I'm trying to take the city. I can work with Alderman Brandon. Why? Because his vision lines up with where I'm trying to go. I had a meeting with an alderman who's already in office, and it was supposed to have been a 30-minute meeting turned into a 2.5-hour meeting. Why? Because we were sharing visions, and our visions lines up. So you got to have a leader that has a vision, that can share his vision, that other people that has a position can see the vision and want to run with that vision. I don't have to manipulate nobody to go in a direction. I just share my vision, and that should be enough to influence you to want to help make the city a better place. Y'all both was quiet on me. Y'all making me nervous now. I thought we
Oh no, I thought we was. I thought we was.
Oh, You waiting on Coach Mo? Okay,
Yeah,
Coach Moore.
yeah. So that's why I didn't say anything.
Okay, great, great. Okay, well, yeah, I have more questions. I mean, I can have questions for days, you know. And since I'm a financial literacy advocate, a lot of it just really evolves around this. But
Right.
from the educational standpoint and from the schools, I would like to know. Me and Dr. King kind of went on this earlier. So Brandon and Stacy, what are your thoughts for helping these school systems, right? These young children. What are some of the thoughts in working with them and dealing with them? Uh, you know, uh, the things that we did in the past is not working. In my opinion, we are in a worse situation today than we were yesterday, than we were 5 years ago, than we were 10 years ago, which means those programs, those ideologies didn't work. And so, my question for you two is um, what are your plans? What's different about Brandon? What's different about Stacy that can create change for us?
Was, in my opinion, what's lacking in the school system is those caring teachers that we grew to know coming up. Um, the MPS has to do something, and which might be outside of the alderman's office, but MPS needs to make it attractive for teachers who do care to come back, because right now, most of them are scared. Some of them feel underappreciated, but if I said my work, what it would do to help them, what I would do is make sure home is okay for those children, so when they go to the schools, they'll be okay and they're ready to learn. And how I would do that is build a relationship with my constituents that allows for them to be able to thrive in the community. That's
I'm
that's
a
all you got for me.
I'm a firm believer in order to, like I said, in order to really know what the problem is, you have to go in to see what the problem is. So you have to go into the schools. We own the biggest issue, and one of the biggest conversations that's always around is the conversation about MPS. Now, I'm a product of MPS. Now, I get, yes, we don't have the same teachers as we had back then, but times are changing. These children's thoughts and ideas is not the same method of how we want it, meaning that once you get out of high school, go to college, leave college, get a good job. Now they're more artistic. Their ideas are more vast than ours. So we have to be able to tailor to the need of each individual kid. But first and foremost, we do have to bring money to the school. We do have to increase the budget for MPS. We do have to be able to bring in money to get the resources that they need, update the books, the educational aspect. We're having our teachers teach 30, 40 students outdated materials. And then also, too, they feel undervalued and unappreciated. They also have kids and families coming from the same backgrounds as where we come from. And also, too, the mental health of our kids is not how it was when we were growing up. Growing up, where in our time is you didn't talk about those things. And now these kids are very expressive when it comes to that. And also COVID-19 did a lot of damage to not only the adults, but the kids as well. So we have to look at those issues and address those to bring the kids back into the schools. Ask them what they want to do. Ask them what they want to learn. Make it interesting. Bring back the trades, the cooking classes, the doing hair shops. What was it called? Home economics. Because those are the careers that they like doing. Bring in how to edit and do videos. So stuff like that, because they into TikTok. You have to tailor it to the need, not only just teaching them math, English, science, and arithmetic. Of course, you have that aspect, but you also bring in an aspect that makes them want to see more than just going right to college when they get out of high school. But you have to take care of the teachers and bring in more money for the teachers, but also too, you have to bring in more materials.
Let me jump in
I,
here because
oh,
I got to come in right now because there's three things to the problem with the education component. Three things. Um, First, let me start off like this: they don't need any more money. They just got to release the money from the school board itself so it can get down to the classrooms because they got money is there. That's the problem. Money is there. They in one classroom. I got a friend. She's a teacher. She has 27 kids in her classroom, and having 27 kids in that classroom, she has $405,000 in that one classroom. 400 and $5,000 in the classroom. So the money is there. How they allocate the money is the problem. Teachers want to teach. So the first thing what we have to do is we have to untie parents' hands so parents can go back to being parents. There's no way you and I, when we grew up, was able to talk to a teacher, act any kind of way in class. But when you tie the parents' hands and tell a parent, if you discipline your child, you going to jail.
Oh wow, that's when they changed everything.
So when you tie parents' hands and don't let a parent be a parent, that's a problem. You got teachers who want to teach, but they can't teach because they right now because they're not allowed to teach because they're being the daycare because of why? Because of you got 27 kids, so that means you got 27 attitudes. You got and you always heard the saying, the wheel that squeaked the loudest is the one that get the oil. So the kids that's clowning in class get all the attention, and so they don't have time to teach. You got some good teachers, but then you got them being handcuffed also by the curriculum that is coming down. When you look at Common Core, the curriculum of Common Core that dumbs down the education system on our children. Okay, so the problem is not I need more money. The problem is we need to change the curriculum. Like you say, what happened to home economics? Like you say, what happened to the trades? What happened to the band? Remember we used to come home with instruments? What happened to all of that? They took that money and put it in central office, and they got all of the money. It's not getting down to the classrooms. So when you look at it for what it really is, right? You got teachers who want to teach, but they got a curriculum who won't allow them to teach. Okay, you got CRT, right? You got SEL, social emotional learning, right? Where they're teaching K4 about sexuality. So they're not trying to teach, but we can't put all of that on the teacher. We got to put some on the parent. If your child can't read, you should know if your child can read or not. When I drive around with my son before, right now, I know he can read and everything, but when he was young, I would ride around with him. And every time we stop at a red light, I said, read this to me. Read this to me. And then I give him math problems that he have to answer while we're driving. No pencil, no paper. Why? Because I'm getting him to use his mind. If my son got straight A's and he couldn't read, I would have a problem. So now I got to go to the school to figure out why my son getting straight A's and he can't read or he can't do math. So some of that, it goes on to the parents. Some of that, it goes to the schools. And then some of that, it goes, and I tell people like this. If you keep sending your kids to Caesar, stop getting mad when they come home a Roman soldier. Why? Because we're allowing Caesar to feed our kids, to educate our kids, to indoctrinate our kids. And now guess what happened? I blame parents, I blame the school system, and then I blame the churches. Why? Because you got all these churches with youth ministries and they don't know the kids can't read.
Absolutely.
So when you look at the whole situation, All of us play a part in this. We can't put it all on teachers, and you can't put it all on parents when parents' hands are tied. And you tell those parents, if you discipline your child, right, you're going to get a whooping. I mean, we're going to take your child away from you. When we was kids, our parents can walk into school at any given time, right? And catch you off guard, catch you clowning, catch you doing everything. Now parents can't get into the school system. They can't go up to the school and get in. And they try to lie and use COVID. It's deeper than just the virus COVID. Let me tell you what it is. When COVID came out, it showed you how far behind your kids was, but it also showed what they was teaching the kids. And they wasn't teaching them math. They wasn't teaching them history. They wasn't teaching them how to read. They was changing history. They was telling people tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. They was telling people Martin Luther King was marching for homosexuality. And most of us, all of us here old enough understood. You didn't come out in the 60s and say you was gay. You hid that mess. You wouldn't have marched in the 60s talking about equal rights for LGBTQ. You wouldn't have did that. That wouldn't have been part of the Civil Rights Act. But what has they done? They don't rewrote history and say Civil Rights Act was about homosexuality, even though there's a little clause in there about sex, but it wasn't designed for that. So when you start to allow them to feed our kids lies, when our kids are in kindergarten and they come home and telling their parents who to vote for, that's letting you know the system is broken. That's letting you know something is wrong with the system. When teachers are telling your kids in K-5, first grade, second grade, who to vote for, and they marching around outside the school, teaching them how to protest, teaching them all the stuff that they shouldn't be learning right now. So when you look at it, we got to look at the whole picture. What is, just like you just said about City Hall, right? The money City Hall wasted, right? Mm-hmm. What is MPS doing with the money they already got? Well, we found
private choice schools. You know?
Nope, that ain't got nothing to do with choice schools.
That's what most of the money from the state is going towards. That's what the money from the city is going to. Is we're doing more privatizing than we are doing with.
No, that's
if you take a look at it,
you got to look at it like this. Choice schools are there because of the fact that some parents want a better education for their kids, so they get an option.
When you allow branching out, because before all of these choice schools and all of the privatizations of schools, everyone went to MPS or you went to school that was in your district. Mainly, once they start pushing the agenda, hey, allowing for African Americans to go to these other schools like Wauwatosa East, Wauwatosa West, thinking that they were doing us a favor, that's where the leadership and the government got involved. And to me, that's where it all started at, because that's at the time when I was in school, going from 2000 to 2000 and I say roughly 2010, 2011, those classes. That's when they started allowing for the integration to the outsourcing of the school.
No, sir.
Of those
no, sir. Back in the 70s, they took our neighborhood school. They took Rufus King from us, and they sent us all the way to the south side, to Hamilton, to Juneau. We used to walk to Rufus King. They took that from us. So it started in the 70s. They took us and made us go on the south side instead of going to Rufus King. We all couldn't go from Rufus King to North Division. They busted us out of here. So, but when you look at MPS right now, let me ask you a question. Right now, with the report card at MPS, fourth graders can read. Only 14% of MPS fourth graders can read at their grade level and do math at their grade level. 12% can do math at their grade level. Would you want your child to go into a school that is not passing by educating the kids? I believe parents has the choice to say what kind of education their kids get. Now, if MPS wants those kids back from choice school, then MPS got to step up their game. They got to give our kids a better education. They got to be wanting to make sure that those kids go from 14% to to at least 70% of those kids can read, can do math. Eighth grade is 11% of eighth graders that can read and do math, that can read, and only 7% of them can do math. I coach at a choice school. I coach at Kingdom Prep High School. And one of the things that I love about Kingdom Prep High School is they have a thing called flex. And if a kid is under 2.8 and got an F, they got to go to flex. They got to go in there and do their homework. They got to go in there and get help with whatever assignment they're missing. And the reason I'm glad about it, that when I took over coaching, I kept that as a guideline for me. Any kid want to play, it has to be a 2.8 and better to play basketball. Not a 2 point, not a 2.3, but a 2.8. Now I'm gonna tell you why. If a kid playing basketball at a 2.8 or higher grade point level, guess what happens? Not only will he get an academic scholarship, but he'll get an athletic scholarship. So his whole ride in college, if he decide to go to college, would be paid for. Why? Because he can get an academic and an athletic. And that's what we want for our kids. Now, if you get a kid out of MPS, 9%, watch this, 9% of the kids that graduated out of MPS, 9% can read and do math at their grade level. 91% of them could not that graduated. Is that fair to those kids?
I don't know. Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying? And would you want one of your kids to be one of that 9% that came, that 91% that came? I think if when it comes to education, and this is me, when it comes to education, if you want my kid, step your game up. That's just the reason we running for office is because they didn't step their game up. And we're sick and tired of them mismanaging the finance in the city. We're sick and tired of their disrespect to the citizens of the city and not looking out for the city. We're sick and tired of the poor services. This is why we in office. We running for office. If that's the case, we should not run and leave them there. But we're running to make it better.
Correct. I'm a firm believer in it, but also too, my view is different when it comes to the whole educational aspect, because I firmly believe both MPS and as well as private choice schools are more so focused on the money aspect and not the educational piece. A lot of the choice schools, because my kids have been to several choice schools, and it was based off, and the reason why they were pulled from that was because of the poor education that was being given. And also the same thing with MPS as well. So the way that I see it, if we take out that whole aspect and get back to the actual teaching and learning and the preparedness in both the MPS and the choice schools piece, and take away the money aspect, because that's all you see and hear is the money aspect, both from the private sector and as well as from MPS. Both sides say that it's not enough money coming through. Both sides has its opponents and its objectives. And that's why I feel that if we take out that piece, that political piece and that money piece, and actually get back to the actual learning and actually requesting the teachers to get a higher educational aspect if they need it. Like with me being a real estate broker, every 2 years we have to get additional training and courses, but offer that to the teachers and allowing them that, and as well as take that piece out of the compensation part.
Okay, now I'm gonna give you some homework.
At the privates.
Right.
The choice schools with the 2% increase. One of the first things that they put in there was that the private choice schools got more money for when they take MPS schools. So they're leveraging our kids like they're
okay. Well, wait.
I don't agree with
Watch this.
With both the private and MPS is because of the money aspect.
Okay, but watch this. This is the part you missing. MPS get $15,000 a child. Choice school get $9,000. They don't get $15,000. They get $9,000.
With the new 2%, it's a highly more. It's a little bit more with the 2% because they get a bonus for every MPS kid.
But wait.
Get added
Choice school doesn't get the same money for kids that MPS get. They don't get the same. Go look it up. They don't
They
get
get
this.
a different amount because they are accepting MPS kids.
Right, but they don't. But they're not getting. They're under. They're not even double digit. They under. So when you look at it, go look up Race to the Top.
I did. That's what I'm basing.
No child left behind, and then go look up Common Core. Then look up Common Core.
And also, I'm basing it off the proposals and actually what was passed in the bill, and also what is allocated from the 297-page budget that comes from the Milwaukee County. And what I'm saying is that both sides is fighting over money and not really caring about the education of these Black kids. And
well, I again, you need to search it. And as one of the things I would love to do, I would love to bring some kids from Choice and kids from MPS and do like we used to do. We used to have a citywide. I used to be in that. I was in a citywide math tournament. Okay, I had that. What happened to we need to have a citywide spelling bee again. We need to have citywide debate meetings again. What happened to all of those things? You see what I'm saying? Now you can see which one is really doing what. But when you go and you start taking a look at how education started to decline, when the school told the kids, right, if your parents whoop you, call 911. We ain't pay attention to that because they got that from school. When a kid come home trying to use a pronoun,
Yeah.
they got that from school. They didn't get that from home. So when you start to wondering what they're teaching our kids, I would not want my grandkids in a school that's confusing them sexually. Period. That's not their job. So when we start to look at the thing, matter, I tell you what, before we have this conversation, let's meet, let's bring your laptop. I want to give you some educational information that you can go back and look it up, and you will see what's really going on. And then, like I said, I got some teacher friends, and I know their hands is tied. I know they went in that field to teach. They went in that field to teach, but they can't. And so when you look at it from that sense, why can't I? Union is one, and central office is the other problem. If anybody,
I got to chime in.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I want to chime in because I forgot that I actually held a conversation with a teacher, a friend of mine, and some of them feel like their hands are tied also because now where you used to have a child in the classroom and the class clown get put out the class, they no longer can do that. They actually have to try to deal with that child and teach the other 26 children that's in their classroom already. So because their hands are tied also.
That's because they're monetizing our kids. That's why they're telling the kids, hey, if your parents whoop you, do such and such. Because yes, technically certain things are considered beyond whoopings. And the way that these kids are taught, that's what they're taught. Hey, such and such this is not a whooping. You do this now, you do that now. It's so much vast. So it's like we can't see it from a looking glass because they're allowed to see the whole world and the whole picture now. So of course they're going to teach the kids, hey, no, you can't whoop them and do this and do that. But also too, I firmly believe that it's every kid. The reason why the kid can't leave that room is because they're being monetized. Every such and such even from MPS to choice schools on a certain day, every time they have what they call their count, if the kid is not there, they don't get the X amount of dollars. So that's what I say.
That's twice a year. That's twice a year.
That's why I say monetizing. That's when I say, hey, take that aspect out of it because I'm very blunt, and that's the way that's how I see education.
Well, technically,
being ran as a business instead of as a teaching tool. It's not
right, but technically,
both.
I feel that the dollar should follow the. Technically, I feel the dollar should follow the child. And if the dollar follow the child, I guarantee you everybody will straighten up and want to fly right. But when you
isn't following the child though,
not necessarily. It's not
richest communities and leaving the poorest neighborhoods. Let's take the
let's look at what they're doing right now. MPS Holiday ain't got no money, so they taking our neighborhood schools and turning them into apartments. That's what they're doing right now. So when we start to look at this thing, we have to look at this is all designed. They designed this so that they can all again. We Coach Moore and I and Coach Moore, please jump in whenever you're ready because but me and Coach Moore talked about this. We have been on the menu for so long that if we go to the table, we don't know what to ask for. Because why? We've been programmed to be on the menu. And we've been programmed to say we need more money. Now, if any one of our houses, whether it's my house, your house, Brandon house, or Coach Moore house, any one of us, if our wife is overspending money and the bills are not being met, she come to you and say, I need more money, you gonna give it to her? Or you gonna tell her she gotta cut back?
I don't know. I don't have that relation to Queen. She the tightest of shoes. She be on me about spending. So
right, but do you see what I'm saying?
She work hard. She say, hey, I work hard for mine. She likes sitting at the level of the Queen. So
right, but the question is, even if we went and said we needed more money, we were spending, the first thing they're gonna ask us, what are you doing with what you got?
Correct.
That's what we gotta ask MPS. What are you doing with what you got? Our teachers got to go in their pocket to get supplies, and you just gave the superintendent now he's making over $300,000 a year, but the school system is failing, and now you saying we need more money? That's just like the mayor of them raising taxes and now voting for them a raise.
Right.
That's the same thing.
Was gonna go there.
But they love using that fine word. You got to retain talent. That was their famous word and reasoning as to why
listen
is retaining talent. But
it's not. I'm gonna tell you like this. It's not even. You need the money to retain talent, because I'm gonna tell you like this. As a businessman. But watch this. As a businessman to other businessmen, we already understand in order to retain talent is based off of leadership.
Absolutely. And the performance.
Absolutely. If the leadership is intact and the person believes in that leader, they'll stay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They'll stay and they will help.
I'm glad you said that, Dr. King, because that was really my only thing that, based off what all we talking about today is leadership. We have to really look at, where are we looking at this leadership from, right? Will a real leader please stand up? Because apparently, we haven't been doing a good job of ourselves letting them lead. Because, if my wife is not paying the bills right, and she's saying, we need more money, then it's one or two things. Either she gonna get it right away, or I have to take that on or put somebody else in position to make that right. Otherwise, we fail. And so we've been failing at not only, holding our leaders accountable, but even just being great leaders ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I strongly believe that, and I've seen in my years of leading in corporate America, I had some people that wasn't getting paid the best, but because of my leadership, they stayed. They stayed because of the environment, the culture, the atmosphere, all was right for them. And they knew that if they just stayed just a little longer, they was going to see some changes and it would benefit them. And it did. And so when we look at our education system, as like Coach Moore was telling us, education is failing. Why? Leadership. Who vote on MPS curriculum? Leadership. Who deal with their budget? Their leaders. Who deal with the city budget? Their leaders. So when you got a leader that know how to kick the can down the road and say we had a surplus, and then all of a sudden you get new leadership and you find out it's really not a surplus. It's just a big fat lie. And so now you got to have a leader that know how to come in and really fix some things by making strong decisions that's going to benefit the people. And so when we look at leadership, and I'm gonna ask this question right here, and to you guys, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Coach Moore. In 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 one sentence, what kind of leader will you be? And I'll start with Brother Brandon. What kind of leader will you be?
I am the kind of leader that listens, and on top of listening, I listen with with the aspect to make a plan of action. I'm not going to wait. You said one sentence, but so I'm going to rephrase that and say,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
but I'll say, I'm going to listen. And besides listening, like I said, be ready to act on what I'm hearing and not afraid to make the hard decision when I have to. But for the most part, every decision made will be in the best interest of the people of my community. I like that you brought up corporate America because right now, still, I work in a company. Um, I work in an auto parts store, and so many times I've seen turnover rate because leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do, and they just doing what they want to do. And I feel like that's what we're seeing in the city right now. Um, and I'm one of those ones who has I have the best retention rate of my whole division. I've in the past 3 years I've hired 15 people, and 9 of them are still with the company. Some have moved up to management. So I think I got a really good rapport. I build a rapport with people and keep the rapport. And how I keep it is, like I said, I'm not scared to make the tough decision, but at the same time, I make a fair decision.
Okay, Brother Stace.
Mine's is actions. I'm gonna let my actions be my words. And what I mean by that is that I had to climb mountains, bridges, and highways, swim the oceans to get in this position to be able to run for alderman. And I'm doing this solely on the purpose of my passion and my care for the trajectory of the city of Milwaukee. I love my city. This is the only city that I have been able to experience everything in, and I want to be a part of that solution. I'm a strong believer in seeing the growth of our city because I have a wife and kids. And as an owner and a business owner in this city, I want to see it growth. So I'm going to allow for my actions to be my words. I can say a million things over that. I'm going to do A, B, and C, but your actions speak louder than any words.
Okay,
Exactly.
I'll sum mine up this way. I believe I'm a true leader because a true leader don't want power, but they want to empower the people. Coach Morris, back to you.
Hey man, you guys are saying some great things, and what come to mind for me in this talk today, really is, accountability. I think, as a people in our community, in the city of Milwaukee, you know, um, we haven't been holding people accountable. I'm not sure, why do we allow the things that happen to continue to happen? There's a lot of defects, guys, in our leadership. A lot of them. It's a lot of defects in our leadership. And when are we going to point these things out and hold people accountable? Not just those people, even ourselves.
Mm.
I love the fact, Dr. King, that you talked about the wife. If the wife is not doing a good job, what do you do? That's very simple. So if our city, if the people and the leaders aren't doing a good job, come on, man, what do we do?
We vote them out.
Yeah.
We bring in a new, bring in a new. It's like I want everyone to truly understand that we place everyone there. These are not permanent positions where they just wake up and say, hey, I'm gonna be the mayor, hey, I'm gonna be the alderman, hey, I'm gonna be the controller, hey, I'm gonna be the treasurer. No, they are going to your door. They are coming to our doors, knocking on the door, and asking for our blessing to get on those ballots. So that's when we need to start grabbing that power back, start taking it back. I was watching a documentary today about Bobby Wayne. He was a presidential candidate in Uganda. He was a pop star turned presidential candidate, and he was saying his statement was the power, we the people. The people is the power. And that's what we need to reiterate to our leaders down there and let them know that, hey, we're no longer satisfied with the positions and everything you have done for the city. We appreciate what you've done, but we're looking to go into a new direction, bring in new perspectives to get us over this hump that we in, because come 2026, we're right back in this same boat. We're going to be 13 million deficit for Milwaukee County. So these are short-term solutions. These are not long-term budget surpluses, when 21 million of that is going back to the pension, where now the pension, all new employees have to go onto the state pension. And when you get to worrying about people money that they worked hard for, and you right back in the same boat, it felt like it was a waste of that increase. That 2% meant nothing. It was a band-aid solution. That's it. So that's why I feel it's necessary that, hey, you will make a statement loud and clear by bringing in new perspectives and new leadership. We're showing through our actions. We're allowing for our vote to be our words.
Mm.
So I say I'm guilty of not holding myself accountable. Why? Because a lot of times I didn't get up and go vote. A lot of times I didn't care who my older person was because I felt like it didn't affect me. It wasn't until I purchased my home that I knew how an alderman affected me. And then even more, I didn't know how other people felt about it because, once again, I didn't care. Um, but and that brings me to why I'm even running. One day I sat back and I was having a conversation with a few friends of mine, and while in the midst of the conversation, somebody brought up politics. I don't remember who it was, but while we were having the conversation, they started talking about our alder person, and how many years that our alder person has been in office. And I sat back and I'm like, wait a minute, I bought my house 9 years ago, and well, started buying it 9 years ago, and this person been in there longer than I've had my house, and the only thing I see coming from it is um the area around me is steadily declining, and crime is getting higher. Businesses are leaving, and I'm steady seeing more and more vacant homes popping up everywhere. And I sat back and said, I've been helping people on a small scale all my life. Once I got to a point where I was able to do more for people, I started partnering with different people who are already doing things in the community and putting whatever resources, whatever time I have into it to help. And I always been a diplomatic type of person who comes to the rescue of everyone. Um, I was actually even shot in my district, and people thought I was going to run and go back to Tennessee because I came to Milwaukee 30 years ago. But they thought I was going to go back to Tennessee, and I'm not going. Instead of running away from Milwaukee, I said right now I'm gonna stand up and fix it. At that point in time, I didn't know how or where, but I said I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to stand here until I can fix it. And
Yeah.
that passion that pushes me is the fact that I have four children that are now teenagers. My oldest 17, my youngest 13. And what I saw of Milwaukee when I moved here 30 years ago, I want them to be able to see that same vision, that same way of living. I thought Milwaukee was Mayberry compared to where I came from, which is Tennessee, Memphis. So I want my children to be able to see that same aspect of Milwaukee. And currently, under our current leadership, I think they're asleep.
I
They
got a
lost the.
question, right?
Go ahead.
I got a question. Excuse me, Brian. I got a serious question since because you're talking with passion, and I've been around a long time, and all you guys, everybody here today is talking with great passion. We've been seeing what's on the news or on social media with Cat Williams. He done the major, exposing everybody. I've had relationships with numerous of politicians, aldermen, and state reps in Milwaukee, numerous relationships. So like one of my questions is, early on, I feel the passion, I hear the passion in you guys and those people. So can you be bought? Right? Brandon, can you be bought? Stacy, look, Stacy laugh. Can you be bought, Stacy?
Absolutely
Can
not.
Dr.
Listen,
King be bought? Because after
absolutely
you
not.
get in that position, there's influences there, right? There's monies there that takes us off the mission. So what is it about Stacy? What is it about Dr. King? What is it about Brandon that the people know that you're
My
My
gonna take this road, right?
my integrity, and when I say I've been in situations that I don't want to go back to. So me being bought, that's a statement that would never cross my mind because I'm not doing this for the sake of money. Because if that was the case, I could just continue to be a real estate broker and deal with the real estate industry and the things that I do on that end. And to me, it was because of the fact that I'm passionate, my drive, my determination to get to where I'm at. I've been on the 23 and 1. So those who know what that is know where I come from. So to know where I came from and to be able to be in this position and to be able to hold my head high when I was told to hold my head down, I would never fold under them circumstances of selling myself out. I care too much about where I got to where I'm at now to ever be able to be bought because of the fact that I'm not there to be their friends. I'm not there to make friends with politicians. I'm not there to make friends and do business with businesses. I'm there to represent what is right for the people. So if it include those businesses and if it include those other aldermen and the constituents from different cities and states, that's what I'm going to be involved in. Before as selling myself, no, I don't been through hell to get to where I'm at today to ever be willing to sell myself and look at my wife and my kids. I gotta sleep next to them I gotta sleep next to my wife every day. I gotta sleep next to and see my kids every single day. And I can't be teaching them and telling them what a man is and I'm willing to sell myself out. Nah, that's just not how I was built or raised.
That's a valid question, though, right, Stacey? Is that a
Yeah,
valid
it's
question?
very valid
That's a
because you
very
get that
valid
all the time. People get in there, and that's the problem that I had. And when I vote, that's why when people ask me, "Hey, how do you vote?" I always use it as a joke. It depends on what the water bill is. If I get a discount being a Republican on the water bill, I'll be a Republican for a while. If I get a discount on the Democrat side, I'll be a Democrat. Because when it's all said and done, when it's time to pay them bills, they're not asking what party you from then, So I'm a firm believer in making sure that what is right for me and for the people. And I'm tired of hearing that, hey, all this infighting and in all of that, and that not doing nothing for us at all. We're struggling every day, from us business owners to the homeless. We're struggling every day. Why? We're allowing the same people selling us these dreams. That's all they're doing is selling us dreams, and we're falling for them. So now it's time for us to wake up.
Come on, Brandon, man. We want to hear what you got to say on that.
I'm ready. I'm ready. No, I can't be bought. If I could have been bought, then it wouldn't have took me so long to buy my house. It wouldn't have took me coming. I got a backstory, you know. A lot of times I've turned down opportunities that would have put me on my feet and ahead of where I am today. And I care too much for my people, the people around me. I care too much, same as Stacy, for my children, because I'm trying to teach them something. And I got daughters too. I got 2 daughters. Me letting somebody buy me out is like me telling them it's okay to sell yourself. But my loyalty is to my people, not to a dollar. So no, and you cannot. Your money is not helping my people. I don't want it.
That's right. Come on, Dr. King. You ain't exempt from this question here, Dr. King.
Well, I already know you ain't going to exempt me from it, but my question is, no, I cannot be brought because of the fact that my loyalty first is to God and then to his people. I could have been brought a long time ago. I was a black face in areas where blacks didn't go. I could have went and became the face of that. I decided, not to because it didn't benefit. It doesn't benefit you to sell out. It benefits uh, the person that's buying you. It doesn't benefit you. I mean, you might got the money, but it really doesn't benefit you because you got to look in the mirror and see yourself to realize I sold my people out. And what I'm teaching my children is to sell out is the best way to go. So for me, I made one promise to the people of Milwaukee, and that one promise I can keep forever. And people say, don't make a promise you can't keep. And this one I can keep. And my promise to the people in Milwaukee is I will never sell your trust. So I cannot be. Matter of fact, let me give you a story about selling out. Now, Coach Mo, you know my work with God Squad and getting people jobs and all of that. Well, the city came to me and they brought a gentleman and they sent this gentleman to me. Now, if you want me to be like Cat Williams, I'll name names too. But anyway, they
name names. I want to hear them. Look.
Okay, you want me to name names? His name is Tim McMurtry. They had him. He came in my office, and this is what he said to me: "We know the work you're doing in the city. Matter of fact, we like your work in the city." But then he said this: "But we can't give you no money because you won't be quiet. You won't shut up." And so when people tells me those kind of things, right? You won't give me. You know my work. You know I'm transporting over 450 people a day to work. You know I'm giving jobs even to felons, and you gonna tell me that you would give me money if I was shut up? Do you know they told me they would give me money if I take God out of God Squad? If I take the word God out, you know. So you can. They know I'm not for sale. They know I'm not going along to get along. They know I'm a man of character. What I say, I'm going to do. They know that if it ain't right, I'm going to say something about it. So they know this man right there, you're not going to be able to buy him. So what we're going to do is we don't like him, but we got to work with him. So we got to show him some respect. We don't like him, but we got to respect him. And so for me, for For me to sell out is the same thing for Jesus to come off the cross. And we know that wasn't going to happen. So guess what? I'm not for sale.
We got to do everything in our power to prevent those who are continuously selling us out to remain in power, because that's the issue that they have, is that we're outspoken. And when you're outspoken, you get labeled as what they call woke, or you're pragmatic. So they do everything to either A, discredit you, or B, they do everything to throw money behind your opponent to make sure that you can't get in. And so that's where we have to start making sure that we strategically, like playing chess, making sure that we're several moves ahead of that, because we know by the things that we're saying and the things that we're doing that they're going to think, hey, we don't need them down here because of the fact that they're trying to come in and cause ruckus for the masses. And that's what we need to, once we start coming together and realizing that, then we can start getting those people out of there. It's what I call the head handkerchief Negro. Once we start getting those out of place and putting in the people who actually representing us, because the United States was not formed on democracy. We were formed as a republic, and the republic is the people are in charge. The government is ran by the people, for the people. We're electing those people, but we're holding them accountable. That's what a republic is, accountability. Democracy is what we have it now. We're just electing them and hoping that they're doing good. And we're putting them on these pedestals as if what they saying is the only thing that we need to live by or govern by, when they only in those positions for every 2 years, every 4 years. So it's just like any elected position that you're in, whether you're on a board of governors for a school, whether you're on a board of governors for a corporation or association. Once we start looking at it like that, like, okay, you're in that position because we're putting you there. You're not there because you just waking up one day and you got the best speech and you're saying the best things we want to hear. It's because we put you there and we're holding you accountable. And we start getting it out there and start making people understand that, yes, your vote means something. Yes, you voting locally means more than you voting on a national level. There's no reason that you're focused more so on the national when you're being affected the most from a local standpoint. We under local ordinances, we under local rule, we under our budget is locally. We get trickle down national money goes to the state first, and the state allocated accordingly to each city. So if we start focusing as residents on what our local leadership is doing more than what our national is doing, then we'll really grasp the understanding and stop focusing on it. But that way media is designed, it's designed to make us focus on the national, and which allows for local to run and operate accountable. It makes them complacent. And once you get complacent, you don't give a shit. Excuse my French. You basically saying, hey, well, I don't have to do my job because when I run again, no one is going to run against me. If you look at the last several elections, no one has ran against most of these opponents. You got 4,000 people voting, 5,000, 7,000 people when the residents of that district is 34,000 plus.
Yeah, Stacy, on that point, this is gonna be my last question because I know we running out of time. From a measurement standpoint, because we have people that's listening, they're gonna be listening in, right? So I want to kind of simplify this for us. I want all you guys to think on this. This is a thought. If the leadership that we're talking about, let's just call it, instead of 100%, let's just hypothetically say that there's 10 leaders, okay? It's 10 leaders that's leading this Milwaukee, this community, and all it has is calling these shots. The question is, out of those 10 leaders, I know this is not an exact answer, but how many of those leaders do you think is being a great leader, is being accountable, a leader that has the people in mind, a leader that is not a leader that can be bought, okay? We're talking about the leadership that we have now. You don't have to point no fingers. You don't have to say any names, but just as a thought, it's 10 leaders. How many would you say is that real leader? Is that a good question?
Because I mean,
That's
it's a good
that's an
question, but
excellent question.
it's an
That's an
excellent
excellent question.
and
Because we got people
like,
listening in. We
yeah,
got
it's an
young
excellent
guys.
question, but it also to some it might be subjective because we're giving our personal opinions of it.
Okay.
So to me, I say from my standpoint as a resident, not even me looking at it from a automatic candidate perspective or speaking for anyone else in general, just from my household, the Smiter household, I give our local leadership, I give them about a 3. And the reason why I say 3 because we have a couple new entries that came in that I have personally met, and they vision in line with our vision. And when I say me and my wife and my kids and my campaign camp, they aligns with my vision of what I see, what local leaders are, and what you're supposed to do as leadership. So I give them a 3, and I say
Give 'em a
about
3.
3 people, individual that I personally know that's in it, that can't be bought, not in it to be sold out, but the other remainder, yeah, it's time to go. I'm gonna say it blatantly. I'm not there. I don't care about hurting anyone's feelings because at the end of the day, if leadership was doing their job, I wouldn't be having to say this. I'm only speaking what people sitting around their house thinking about when they leave church every Sunday, when they hanging out with their friends down at the hookah bars and they having a drink and smoking a hookah. They thinking about it. Yes, they in there thinking about it too, because when they get that bill, holy crap, look at the sales tax. When they're in that grocery store determining whether or not, oh my God, am I gonna be able to get this milk for my baby today, or am I gonna be able to use this money to get on the bus?
Yeah. No, I think I understand the 3. Okay, Stacey, we'll take that. Come on, Brandon.
I'm gonna say 1. And I don't mind calling his name. Jose Perez. That's right now, that's the only one that I see who constituents can call on and he's actually there for them.
Sound like a
Everybody
leader.
else,
Jose sound like
everybody
a
else,
leader.
yeah. Everybody
Yeah.
else, some kind of way, has gotten away from their values, if they even have any.
All right, Brandon. Come on, Dr. King.
That's an excellent question, but it's a very hard question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to say a half because this person is new and they haven't had a chance to show themselves yet. Okay. Um, I have had conversations with them and they uh, sounds like there's something they want to do, but I want to see it now. Okay. So can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna say a half because I want to give them a chance to show themselves. And the reason I say it's hard and there's not really one yet, because here's the thing. You said a true leader, right? That's really doing, right? That's what you said, right? That I'm making sure I'm answering it
Well,
right.
I'm looking for more of somebody that can't be bought, somebody that that's accountable, somebody that's a real leader, and yes, that can't be bought. That's correct,
Okay.
Dr. King.
So and I'm gonna tell you why I say a half. Because a person that really makes an impact, a real impact as a leader, would not be sitting in their seat for 8 years, 9 years, unless they having a real fight to stay in that seat. You don't be brought. If you cannot be brought, those that are selling and you're not buying are going to do everything in their power to get rid of you. So we have to ask, if an individual is comfortable in their seat, but they're not standing up and shouting loud about education. They're not standing up and shouting loud about the crime. If they're not standing up shouting loud about you don't need to be on the menu, you need to be at the table, and not opening opportunities to be at the table, right? If you're not doing that as a leader, then yeah, they're gonna keep you there because you done compromised already. But a true leader is going to be somebody that's going to have to fight. For example, the moment I get in office as mayor, I know my second term is going to be a fight. Why? Because those that I'm going to go up and start making sure certain things happen are going to be the ones that's going to come against me to make sure I don't get a second term because they already know, right? I mean, let's just look at it this way. We get a prime example with Donald Trump and everything that's going on, right? How they trying to keep him off the ballot and all that. And I'm not telling people to vote for Trump or nothing like that. I'm just saying it goes along with your question. No other president ever had this much fight, right? For them not to reelect them, not to get back on the ballot. No other president. Why? Somebody was in each one of their pockets. And when we look at our aldermans and we look at the condition of our city, if none of them was brought, if none of them, if they didn't pay for none of them, our city would be different.
Absolutely.
So one just came in, so I give her half because she only had a short time, but I believe it's going to be one because they already was talking about if you don't line up, you won't be on this committee, you won't be on this committee. See, the threats is starting to come in now. So you might not sell yourself to an individual, but you will compromise so you can stay in your seat. To me, you still sold yourself.
Right. And with me, this is not something that I'm turning into a career. And I feel that if the constituents request that, hey, for me to run again after 4 years, and my wife is in agreement with it, I'll run another 4 years as long as the constituents want it and it's not looking as if this is a career, because it's not a career. It would never be a career. It's a position of servitude. So if that position of servitude is me just setting and laying the foundation for my next 5th district alderman after me, then that's what is decided. But also, too, if it's something that's for me to continue because the constituents like in the servitude that I'm bringing to the district, then I will run again. But I'm a firm believer in that it's not, don't ever get into it looking at it's been a long time forever thing, because you're not always going to be in that position to serve, because after a while, you're positioned to do something else. Always look at it from a brighter side. If God positioned you to do it for that short term and in that short period, that's what I'm having in mind. If this is all God want me to do for these 4 years, that's what I'm gonna do. And then if he say, hey, I want to move you on and show my glory somewhere else, then that's what he's gonna do.
So, Coach, I'm going to give you the final words. Wow, we've been on over 2 hours, so I'm gonna give you the final word, Coach. I'm gonna put you fully on the screen, and you get to say whatever it is that you want to say as we close this out, gentlemen. This has been great, and we're gonna have to do it again with the coach, because I tell you, Coach come with some good stuff, and he make you
I love
think.
the dialogue. I love this dialogue. It's real, authentic. You know, it's not sugar coated. It's not. I'm a firm believer in that, like just raw, uncut conversation, because these are the conversations and the questions that we need to be having and asking, and making sure that we're being held accountable, because we're setting up that platform of the accountability. You know, and
Yes,
definitely like the raw, uncut questions you ask, because those are the questions people are wondering. Those are the things people think about, because I think about it when I vote. Why am I voting for you? Because you're going to just do the same thing that the previous said prior to you. But if you're showing through your actions, then that'll make me have more confidence in voting for you, knowing that, hey, I know you and they're voting for the right people. So these questions you asking shows to me that you do care about what's going on in our city, and that we're not just going to get your vote just because, hey, we met you, shook your hand, and had a good conversation.
yes. So, Brother Brandon, before I turn it to Coach, you want to say one last thing before I put him on?
Yeah, there's actually 2 things. I was looking at the comments too, and there's somebody named Rustin who I'm looking at the stuff that he's saying. And a little while ago, he said, he asked us all, what's our definition of selling out? And for me, selling out is compromising my integrities, um, my personal values. I'm not selling out for money. I'm not selling out for a higher position. Within and to piggyback off of Stacy, I don't know if it's a career move. It's going to be a career thing for me or not. What I do know is for the next 4 years, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight for my community. I'm gonna fight other city leaders to do what you told the people you said you were gonna do. And in that 4 years, if I haven't won my fight to my standards or to the standards of the constituents, then I'll continue fighting. But if I've gotten to a point where the next person can move forward and continue to build on it, then I'll step aside. Because I'm a firm believer of this. You on a job so long, you can't get complacent. Sometimes it's time for you to shake it up. And that's what's been happening in our city so long.
Amen. So, Coach, we are in your hands, sir.
All right, thank you. And so, hey man, great talk, guys, today. And my last words is going to be accountability. Accountability is key. The people are counting on us to do an effective job in our leadership roles. And when we look at the stats, the statistics, we haven't been doing such a great job. And the children are dependent on us. The education that they have been receiving hasn't been efficient. And is it the politician's job? Partly, but it takes a village. And so, regardless of what roles you have or what jobs are paying you, we still have an obligation to do better, to be accountable. Not just the alderman, not just the mayor. We all have the things that we are here to do to raise the vibrations of our city, our people. And so, lastly, I just want to say, man, that uh, the people are counting on us. There's nobody else that can do it but the ones that are the real true leaders. So, will the real true leaders please stand up? Because when they gave the stats and talked about the leadership that we have in place now, it's a big problem with them. So, as I close, will the real leaders please stand up?
Amen. Just a couple of announcements before we go. On the 19th, we are having a Black Tire fundraising gala over at the Hilton Garden Inn, 11600 West Park Place. The cost is $60. We have a silent auction, and one of the items that will be auctioned out is Hall of Famer Leroy Butler jersey, autographed authentic jersey will be one of the items to be in the silent auction. For more information, you can call 414-899-2688. That's 414-899-2688 or 491-467-4908. That's 491-467-4908. And you can pay at the door. All you have to do is call and give them your name so you can register so they'll know how many people are coming. We even have a live comedian. He's going to come and get you laughing because we want to have a good time at this fundraiser. And then if you also in the city of Milwaukee, come out and support Kingdom Prep Lutheran basketball program. We have two games, Tuesday night and Wednesday night. All three teams, JV2, JV1, and varsity will be playing starting at 4:15 each day. And we're at 2520 North Wauwatosa Road. That's 76 and right. Come down and support the young men as they go and get 2 victories this week. And so we're excited about that. I want to thank you, gentlemen, again. I want to thank Feed Spot for making us number 9 out of the 20 best political podcasts in the state of Wisconsin. So Feed Spot, we want to thank you. Tune in to Feed Spot. And in the morning, this will be downloaded to Apple and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Audible, and all other platforms. And we are reaching people all across the world, and we're excited about that as well. So we want to thank each and every one of you guys for being with us. We will be doing this again. I thank my brother for coming on and controlling everything and running it. One thing I know about him, he don't sugarcoat nothing. That's why I asked him to come in and hit us with the questions, because like he said, Cat Williams said this is the year of exposure. So I think we need to start exposing the lies so the people can be free. This is Dr. David King with Vested in Milwaukee. Right now, we want to say God bless you all and good night.